Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joseph Brown. I'm the director of the CSU Academic Integrity Program, and I've created this video so you could see how GPTZero works and how to use it if you're in a situation where you believe the response of a student was potentially created by an AI or artificial intelligence engine. Now I want to be clear, this is just a tool. It is a very new one. It has its own limitations. We're not necessarily recommending that the institution adopts it or anything like that. But I just wanted you to know that it was out there and to have something to show you how it works. This is the landing page for it, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But I wanted to show you how we're going to test it. So right off the bat, I'm going to show you an example of a prompt that I used in my class. It was an honors course last fall. And this particular prompt is a discussion post. It's designed to kind of generate conversation around something that we're reading. And in that part of the course, we were talking about the Kennedy assassination, as you can probably tell in this prompt. And so what I wanted to begin with was to show you my original prompt and how I had to modify it in order for ChatGPT to actually produce a response. Because in the original prompt, it recognized that I was asking it to do something that a human had to do. In other words, asking a grandparent. It realizes it doesn't have a family, for example. And so it was, however, very easy to modify that prompt. And you can see here how I did so. I replaced the word ask with the word imagine. And I removed the sentence that suggested that they get their family members' permission to share their response. Now, the student response that I have here, I know for a fact is an authentic student response, partially because I know my students really well, but also because this assignment was due before ChatGPT was publicly available. So I have a high degree of belief that this was an authentic response. Then below, I have the AI-generated response that ChatGPT created when I gave it the modified response. So I wanted to show you these before we begin. We can do that here. Now, so when you first show up to GPTZero, this is the screen you'll see. You can click Get Started or simply scroll down to try GPTZero Classic. And once you click that, it will take you to this screen. Now, once you're at this screen, it's pretty simple. You're just going to paste in the text that you're concerned about, and then it will begin analyzing it. And I've already run that process here. It takes about a minute for that to make its way all the way through. As you can see, it starts to more or less communicate with you about how it works. I'm not a computer engineer, so some of these things really don't make any sense to me, but it's trying to explain its rationale for how it believes a text is authentically generated by a human or generated from an artificial intelligence engine. For example, one of the things that's been written about a good bit is this concept of burstiness. And that's particularly the GPT-0 attempt to understand whether or not a text was created by a human. So you have some information here, some kind of nice graphics, do with that what you will. And then down at the bottom, it produces a result. This is kind of confusing, and I think partially because the software engineer who created it is still trying to figure out how to present this information as clearly as possible. It gives you this information here about your GPT-0 score. It says corresponds to the likelihood of text being AI generated, and it gives it essentially a number. If you misread that, you might think that it's saying that the text was generated by an AI engine. However, it's not, and that's why they've highlighted here. They think it's likely human generated. So at this point, you have a decision. You have some information. This is a result. Maybe this leads to a longer conversation with your student, but I don't know that in and of itself it would be enough to say that a student misrepresented their work. And I say this because I ran a couple of different responses from that same assignment. And again, this assignment came out well before ChatGPT was available. And in some cases, it misidentified that responses that I knew were student generated, it identified them as AI generated. So it's not perfect. And that's one of the kind of continuing questions about this particular tool. Welcome back. In this section of the video, what I want to share with you is how GPT-0 responds when we give it a
piece of writing that we know was generated by an artificial intelligence engine. And so in this scenario, I've already gotten this work from ChatGPT using the same prompt that I showed you earlier, and I plugged it into GPTZero and let it run its process. It took about 30 seconds. It did the same thing as before, where it explained its rationale and how it was evaluating the work. And then as it completed that process, it correctly analyzed this piece of writing as likely to be AI generated. So that's a good result for this particular software. However, I do want to be clear that, number one, in and of itself, this is not enough for us to say that a piece was generated by an AI engine. It might help you, might provide more information and help you have a better conversation with a student if you suspect already that work may have been created that way. But we just don't know enough about it yet to where it's not necessarily a slam dunk, in other words. However, as you go through, you can see there's some more information here that will help you understand how it arrived at that result. I encourage you to take a look at that. And I also encourage you to read more about GPTZero. There's a good bit out there on NPR, CNN, and other major news outlets that will help you understand how it works and how you may use the information that it produces, and why you may also want to be a little skeptical as it develops. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about this particular strategy for managing ChatGPTZero in your course. Thanks.